Thank you. So we're moving on now to our third, actually our last team of the evening. They will close us down, until our closing remarks. I'm going to introduce Jonathon Wilson now. Jonathon Wilson is part of the Medidata team, and he will introduce the other people on his team who will be presenting. And anytime now, Jonathon, you can share your presentation. Jonathon, I believe, is in Colorado.
I am.
Yeah, originally from Alabama, now in Colorado, and you have been with Medidata since 2015, and you are a technical content strategist. And with that, I turn this over to you. Very interested in your group's presentation.
Great, all right. Thank you very much. So I am Jonathon Wilson, and I am in Colorado. I'm originally based out of our New York office, from Alabama originally. But tonight we're going to talk about several of our knowledge bases that won awards in this year's competition. I have three of my coworkers here with me and our senior director. But first, for those of you who don't know us, a little bit about Medidata itself. We are, a software as a service company, and we're a platform for clinical trials. And our customers and partners include pharmaceutical, biotech, medical device, and diagnostics companies, and also academic researchers. We also have an AI department that deals with data to help generate evidence and insights to accelerate value, minimize risk, and optimize outcomes. So that's a little bit about our company. About us personally, our first speaker tonight will be Nitza Hauser. Nitza has been with Medidata for the past 15 years. She serves as our Senior Director of Technical Content Strategy, and she also served as the President of the STC New York chapter from 2012 to 2014. Our second speaker will be Matt Muscat. He has been with us for 7 years, and he currently serves as a lead technical content strategist. Matt is also now a multiple STC competition award of excellence winner, and tonight he'll be speaking about his most recent winning knowledge base, Medidata Dashboard. Following Matt will be myself, which I introduced a little bit about myself, and then following me will be Anita Gossett. She is also a remote employee like me, and she joined the company in 2018. And tonight she'll be talking about her award-winning knowledge base for study management. And lastly, rounding us out is Jonathon Hodrick. He joined us a couple years ago as well. He is one of our technical writers who works with various data analytics and reporting applications, and he'll be presenting on his award-winning knowledge base for Meds Ingester. So with that said, I'll pass it off to Nitza, and I will let her talk about us some more.
Thank you, John. Just a few words about the team as a whole. We are called Technical Content Strategy, and the team is basically responsible for all product knowledge. We call ourselves curators of product knowledge. As you can see here, we even have a logo for ourselves, which we designed for ourselves. It's on all the shirts that everybody's wearing. And if you go to the next slide, we also have a mission statement. This mission statement is based on the Medidata mission statement, and we see our role as empowering users to better achieve breakthroughs in life sciences by imparting clear, direct, timely, and expert product knowledge. And what this really means is that we want to give our users the right information at the right time, in the right context, so they can do their work. We're not there to give them something to read. We are there to help them achieve their main function, which is breakthroughs in life sciences and save lives. And that's why Medidata dabs itself as the architecture of hope, because we provide the architecture for the clinical trials industry that brings miracles and hope to patients. Next slide, please. A little bit about our Medidata knowledge spaces, which is a site that the team maintains. First, a brief history. Way back in the dawn of time, we used to use Adobe Technical Communication Suite, and we had 1 or 2 products or 3 products, and each author would build their own website with FrameMaker and push it to RoboHelp and create a website. This was not scalable. this was definitely not the way we wanted to go forward. So we did our research. We selected the tool, Confluence, with some add-ons. I will mention that a little later why we went with Confluence, but we selected the tool, we built standards, we created templates, we researched methodologies to use, which, for example, the every page is page one methodology, the Mark Baker. Then we started migrating the content. We built single sign-on capabilities, so employees will get in one way and customers can get in another way. We built the site to become responsive. We included release notes into it so they will be in context and not a PDF that's sent separately to customers. Later on, we added the ability for the customers to subscribe to newsletters about upcoming release so they know what's coming before it's coming. We are in a heavily regulated industry and customers must know what's coming before they have to accept a release that we provide. We implemented readability tools to improve the content. And we spent a few years improving, growing, building the ability to present cross-platform information because our platform grew from 3 products to we now have, I think, over 30 products and modules, and we needed to provide the ability to connect between the information we provide for each. Customers oftentimes will buy multiple products and they need to understand how to move from one product to the next. And we are currently, I will speak some more of what next at the end of what we are working on now, but things like smart diagram, we are building collaboration spaces where actually customers and Medidatations collaborate on with partners and educating people in the education industry, collaborating with our Medidata people, and we want to implement progressive user assistance. Next slide. And the final result is what we call the Medidata knowledge spaces, which are our unified knowledge platform. And it now complements the clinical cloud platform that Medidata provides with the product knowledge platform. We have a responsive design, so our knowledge spaces can be viewed on any device, whether it's a desktop or a mobile phone or a tablet. We have a built-in translation strategy that's part of the advantages of our using Confluence. So we have a plugin that provides us with the ability to translate the content, pull the information out, translate, push it back in. We have implemented proven content strategy and readability principles. We have methodologies, like I mentioned, every page is page one. We use minimalism. The knowledge spaces serve as context-sensitive help. So link within the application, take the user directly to the appropriate article within the knowledge space. And we are obviously our award-winning knowledge spaces, and that is thanks to the STC competition. We have used it extensively from I think almost day one, and we find it extremely useful because not only do we get 3 experienced judges to look at every new knowledge space that we produce, and we get wonderful feedback and improvement suggestions. We also get bragging rights, and I cannot underestimate the impact. Just the ability to blog about it, to brag, to send to executive management the stats that we won these awards and we kept winning, and we got 3 knowledge spaces this year, 4 knowledge spaces the last year. That is invaluable. So I think that the competition has been extremely a powerful tool in our arsenal. And next slide. So some stats on where we are right now. We have over 18 knowledge spaces and over 10,000 pages. Oops. And we have been tracking everything. From the beginning, we put Google Analytics on our knowledge spaces. So we have been seeing an increase in average session duration. This is from last year to this year, 179% increase, which means people are staying on the site. They are reading 1 or 2 articles or 3 articles. They have gotten used by now to the pattern that we've been building, that there was a whole concept of building templates in. So we have constant pattern that users are becoming familiar with. And we also calculate the deflection rate, or self-service rate, if you will, which is the customer sessions that just go in the knowledge base and leave instead of clicking the support button that we have on every page, floating on every page of our knowledge spaces. Next slide. And the crown, to top this whole thing off, we have, as of 2018, we have been surpassing every other customer channel that Medidata has in the number of page views that we get. We broke the 2 million page views a year mark last year, and while our marketing site, Medidata.com, has been getting less. So I will now let a few authors speak about their knowledge spaces, and I will wrap up at the end with some more information. Matt.
Hello, everybody. I'm Matt Muscat. I submitted the knowledge space for Medidata dashboard. The dashboard application is a productivity tool, providing users with personalized data, daily dashboard identity tasks across multiple metadata products for which they have access to, needing their most immediate attention. So I developed the online help to assist the application usage. Why did I submit to the STC competition? Since I had a brand new online help product with a format that had never been used with our other products, the competition seemed like a good forum to get responses and advice from industry peers and experts. I had done it once before, and their comments were very helpful. The challenge for me was that the submission date for the competition was close to the publication of the online help final delivery date for this maiden voyage of this particular product. The feedback I got back was both positive and some helpful comments as well. Affirmation that the format and organization for the new online help was excellent, clean, and simple. The learning objectives were clear and information was easy to find. Hover text for term definitions was well received. We incorporate hover text for our glossary terms. So instead of going to a glossary to find out what a particular term may mean, they basically just hover over a term that has been what we call glossarized, and they see the definition right there. So the judges really like that. They did say that the graphic elements were meaningful and consistent, but they thought that there could be more or larger images, and so that we had to kind of balance with our own standards for images, but it was definitely helpful. They found a few lengthy paragraphs, which again helpful, and a few pop-up tips revealing HTML code were identified. A little embarrassing. Next slide. So the conclusions, basically, it was a great incentive to proofread, and even when you do that, there's still things that you can miss. The competition was a great experience with important feedback and an unexpected excellence award. So that's it. Thank you.
All right, so next I'll be talking about my knowledge base for Rave Omics. I'll tell you a little bit about omics before we get into the space. It is a tool that's used primarily by biostatisticians and data analyst for the purpose of importing clinical and multi-omic data files, reviewing all study-related data, performing checks or quality checks on imported data, creating data sets, and then performing analysis runs on the data that's been imported into the study. So why did we want to submit this to the STC? Well, first of all, this was a brand new knowledge base with a brand new application that we were working alongside as they were creating the application to make the space. We know that this is a great opportunity, as Nitza and Matt both mentioned, to get great feedback. We've done this for years with our knowledge bases, and we really do value and appreciate the feedback that we get through the competition. And also, as Nitza mentioned, it's a great way to promote the work that we do in our department. Technical communications is not always the most visible department in a company, and this is a great way to say, like, this is the work that we're doing for everyone. As far as the challenges go, this knowledge base had to be created from scratch with a brand new application. As I mentioned, we were building alongside their development. The development team for this particular application was actually part of our data science team and not part of the traditional product organization. So we had a few little hiccups there and some growing pains where we had to learn together and how we were working on talking about this knowledge base. And also the application is extremely complicated. As I mentioned, it's used by highly specialized people. And so that was a little bit of a hurdle for me, was to learn some of these concepts and terminology so I could accurately explain this to the users. Some helpful feedback that I received through the competition was that they confirmed that the scope and the content was appropriate for the intended audience and its purpose. The organization of the space is logical and consistent. Headings and subheadings were consistently signal topics and subtopics. And then we did a great job providing related content in multiple methods, such as aside TOC, related TOC, and links to the left, as well as related tags at the bottom of topics. Some improvements that are going on with the space right now. The application is continuing to grow. It's still in its infancy. So the knowledge base is continuing to grow alongside it. As they add more complex functionality, we are building out our knowledge base beside them. We're always looking for new and better ways to deliver our content. As Nitza mentioned, we're starting to get into some new methods for doing that now. So Raveomics is one of the applications that I'm looking at to sort of employ some of these new tactics that we're talking about. And we are also adding full context sensitive help in our release this month, which is not something that we've had so far. I've been working with the team to get that done, and now we're finally going to be able to do that for every page in the application, which we're very excited about. So that was Raveomics, and I will pass it off now to Anita Gossett.
Hi, everyone. I want to talk to you a little bit about study management. This is one of the applications in the product. Companies use study management to track the recruitment of study subjects. So these are people who participate in the clinical trial itself. And you can use study management to track enrollment of subjects in study country or site locations. You also can use it to track documents that are submitted to regulatory agencies. Also to look at service providers, such as companies that supply imaging services or laboratory tests. And finally, to track milestones that are met over the course of the study. Next slide, thank you. So why did we submit this to STC? Again, study management was a new application, a new product, and so all the help articles were new as well. And I really wanted to have feedback on the structure and the readability of the articles from my peers, people, not only my colleagues at Medidata, but also people in the industry at large. And as Nitza mentioned, I think it's really important that we have these participation in these competitions, because the managers can use our results to show others at Medidata that we take advice and feedback from our colleagues seriously. Next slide. This is an example of the homepage of the study management knowledge space. You can see we start off with an introduction explaining the application, and then we give people high-level links, how to get started, what's new, which links them to a product newsletter, and also we give them links to training where they can get more information. Next slide, please. This is an example of one of the pages, view subject enrollment. And as Nitza mentioned, we do try to use the every page is page one approach. So we not only describe how you view subject enrollment, but we also give them a workflow at the top to help people understand where they can go after they read this article to find more information in their workflow in using this application. Another point I want to draw your attention to is on the left side, we have a contents panel with links to other articles. And then we also, on the right side, have a similar set of topics for more information. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. Next slide, please. So there were some challenges in the submitting the knowledge space for review. We have internal department practices that we suggest limiting the number of screen snaps in our products because the user interface changes so frequently on some of these new products. And the feedback from some of the judges were suggestions that we needed more graphics or more screen snaps in the articles. And so, you know, that was something that we needed to look at a little bit because of the product being new. And I do think that for a more mature product, we will add more screen snaps and graphics over time. Next slide. Also, the feedback was really helpful. Here are some examples. The instructions and explanations were well written. The collapsible navigation bar on the left enhances the navigation and search. Some suggestions that the infographics should all be the same size, and also a suggestion to remove those more about links on the right side of the page because they're repetitious. They repeat information on the left page. Finally, the ability to download pages as PDF was a great feature. Next slide, please. I'd like to say that this was a great experience. I gained useful insights. And as a result of this feedback, we now have a department initiative to look at the pros and cons of removing those more about links. So we could see some direct feedback from the competition. I'd like to go ahead and introduce my colleague, Jonathon Hodrick, now. Thank you.
Jonathon, you're not muted, but we can't hear you. We don't see that you're muted, but I just see that you're talking.
Oops. Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Okay, we'll use the Mac. Sorry about that. Technology. Alrighty, let's continue. So Medingester is one of the suite of applications that works with the Metadata Enterprise Data Store, also known as MEDS. Medingester imports data into MEDS for subsequent use by other MEDS components. So we have a number of different types of MEDS branded products. Next slide, please. So regarding the requirements and vision for the Medingester knowledge space, the Medingester knowledge space serves as the single source of truth on how to use Medidata's Medingester product. The purpose of the product is to give users the ability to create import jobs and import data into the Medidata's MEDS database. Therefore, my team designed a knowledge base to walk the user through the workflow of setting up an import job, importing data into the knowledge base into the database, and reviewing import jobs. Beyond documenting the workflow, the knowledge base needed to house the release notes about the latest MEDS ingester release, as well as any additional conceptual or reference information needed to use MEDS ingester. Next slide, please. The biggest challenge with this project was gathering and synthesizing information about MEDS. I started work on the project shortly after joining Medidata. In parallel, the product teams were still figuring out what Meds was and how our customers should interact with Meds. Therefore, there were many iterations of knowledge bases and articles before Meds Ingester became customer ready. Meds itself is a complex system, and Meds Ingester is a part of the system. So my team and I had to understand both Meds on a macro level and Meds Ingester on a micro level. Another challenge was working with various international stakeholders. The development team was in Japan. The product and management teams were, product and project management teams were in the US East Coast, where I was, and Graham was in the UK. So we had to figure out how to best share information and coordinate efforts. We ultimately decided to focus on our direct stakeholders in the US, particularly project management and project management. Graham and I also coordinated our schedules and had regular touch points to make sure that we were on the right track. Next slide, please. My team used Confluence to write and present our content. Confluence is the platform that TCS and Medidata at large uses for our documentation. It features a number of plugins that give us the flexibility to present our information in the way we want, while still being intuitive to use. Graham and I sometimes use Google Docs to quickly draft and share preliminary outlines before expanding the content in Confluence. But in using Google Docs, we trade speed for creative precision. To manage our work, we also use Jira to coordinate our product teams. And for communication, we use the fairly standard communication tools like Slack or WebEx. Next slide, please. In terms of feedback, one piece of feedback we found useful was that the, quote, hierarchy of headings might be confusing when a given page has multiple subheadings, end quote. To address this, we began considering having one page per subheading when reasonable to do so. Other feedback included the homepage. The whole page is two-line structure where the graphics are strong, active voice is appreciated, good use of active voice, and expanders are nice since they allow readers to easily find the field they're interested in. Next slide, please. As far as our ongoing improvements goes, Meds Ingester is a constantly maturing product. In fact, since our entry into the STC contest, the ingester workflow expanded to include more options to import data, as well as a complete UI overhaul. I have since shifted primary authorship to Graham, which has been an interesting experience for me since I went from a primary author to more of a managerial support editorial author. Although we work together, serving the team in an advisory role is very different than serving in a direct authorial role. So yeah, that's it for Ingester. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. This was very useful. I want to close out with a few remarks about our content platform, which is Confluence plus some specific plugin that make it a documentation, supports documentation, authoring and delivery. Confluence is a wiki. It's just simply a wiki. It's used by a lot of teams for the development documentation, and it is specifically suitable for integrating a lot of sources. So what we do is we bring in issues from Jira. It automatically it comes because it's the same company. Atlassian provides Confluence and Jira. They are totally interlinked. We stream videos into Confluence for wherever source they are, whether it's YouTube or a location where our partners from the global education team, they build training videos and what we call show me videos, and we can stream them in from there. We can bring information directly from GitHub where the developers work, and we built a whole methodology together with an engineering team at Medidata of building API knowledge spaces directly from the data that the API specification that exists in GitHub. So we always get the latest and greatest information in our content for the customers. Confluence interacts with Slack, so we can set it up so that if the team works in Slack, they can get updates. If a new page was added, or a new blog post was posted. And we also have made sure originally the Confluence will have a built-in, just previous slide, just for 1 minute, that Confluence.
I'm sorry, it sort of had a mind of its own.
Thank you. We made sure before we started that it has a translation strategy, which means we can, as I said, we can export and import the content for translation. We provide our knowledge spaces in multiple languages: English, Japanese, Chinese, Korean. Typically is the basic set. What comes out on the other side is internally, it's a place where we provide, when we create SOPs, architecture decisions, best practices. This is internal to Medidata only. We are, as I said, we are regulated industry. We have to follow a strict SDLC process. We have to provide validation artifacts. We create them in the same system that we create our documentation. Teams create them there and PDF them directly from Confluence. The product teams work in the same place that we do. We build workspaces for them, and they collaborate in the same environment that we write our documentation in. And customer facing, as I mentioned before, we build the knowledge spaces and the client collaboration spaces in that environment, in that platform. Next slide. So why is Confluence so good, plus our scroll add-ons and all the other add-ons? Why is that such a good wiki development platform? The ease of authoring and review is very important, and it improves collaboration because we are working in the same environment as the team. We don't need typically a lot of technical communicators work with their specific unique tool, whether it's FrameMaker or Oxygen or whatever it is. We work with our own special tools, which excludes others. And that means that we have to find all kinds of means of sending it for review, whether we PDF and we send it to review, or we have to create some artifacts to send for our viewers. The whole thing is mute here. I mean, we just produce, we let them review the information in the same environment where they are working every day anyway in their workspaces. So that is a great improvement to collaboration. Confluence allows us to share and reuse content. So of course we can increase consistency and accuracy. We have information that's repeatable. We put it in a shared, in a what they call an include snippet, and we can share it everywhere. It provides labels and macros. Macros is what Confluence call their widgets to support organization, findability, useful presentation methods on the screen. It integrates natively, as I said, with Jira, diagramming tool, GitHub, Slack, a whole bunch of other places. So it becomes a one-stop shop. It allows you to have templates. It allows you to have blueprints, which is template of steroid. It's like a wizard, if you will, to decide which template to use. It has a whole marketplace of plugins. So we really can standardize our processes and improve the usability. Our plugins allow us to separate authoring from delivery. So we author in versioned spaces. Every version of the product has a comparable version of the space. And then we push it to production in another space where we deliver it, and we can control the look and feel of what we deliver separately from authoring, which allows us, it gives us a whole bunch of shortcuts and convenience that authors don't have to worry about. Like, for example, the support button that shows on all pages. It's just an addition at the delivery level. Authors don't have to worry about it. It will show up. And finally, because we are the owners, we are the business owners of Confluence at Medidata, so we are the owners of the R&D documentation platform, which allows us to provide content as a service. We provide content strategy, advice, and support to the rest of the R&D team. So it puts us in a much better and more visible position. Next slide. So a little bit about what's next. Next slide. Here are some things we're working on. We are working on smart diagrams. So we have diagrams that are embedded in our knowledge bases that are clickable, they're searchable. The content of the diagram is searchable. It's not like an image that you cannot search on words that exist in the image. You can on this diagram, and it's clickable. So if we present here is like a relationship diagram, we can click on each item there and get to the article that describes that item. So it's a wonderful way to describe processes, flowcharts, workflows, and any diagram that we need within the knowledge base. Next. Another initiative that we are very keen on is progressive user assistance. Medidata has introduced Pendo. I don't know if you're familiar with that tool, but it's a tool that allows you, it sits on top of the application. It's not part of the build, it's not part of the code, it sits on top of all the application, and it allows you to provide analytics on how the user is used, user journeys, how the user is, what he's clicking on, what they're doing, and it allows us to provide what we call progressive user assistance. At the moment, up until now, we had only at the top help on this page. You know, the help at the very top, we were able to provide our users, but that's at the screen level. We are now planning to add assistance at anywhere we want on the site, on the page, on the application page, including help right there. We have to write less. If we can provide the information right there for the user, we don't have to write so much in our knowledge spaces. And we can give them what they need right there. With read more if they need more information that will take them into the knowledge base. So we are really excited about this development. And the next, I think, and last initiative that we are working on that I want to tell you about is the Acrolinks integration. We have been acquired last year by Dassault System, and they have Acrolinks licenses. So as soon as I heard that we are being acquired, I started looking to get Acrolinks. You probably heard about Acrolinks. It's really, it checks compliance with Style Guide and our terminology. As you author, so as you write, you can see, you can click a button and it will go through your content and highlight for you, is this term appropriate? Are you using the correct spelling of the product name? Are you using active or passive voice? It will highlight for you this kind of information. So this will greatly improve the quality and consistency of our knowledge bases across the board, consistently across all writers. And I think that concludes the presentation, and we're opening now for questions.
Well, I was very impressed with that. I use Confluence in my own work. So I really love your platform. I think it looks gorgeous. I wish that I had something similar to design the one that I work with. But my question was, when you publish, you said when you publish your material, you separate it from the development. And did you mean, oh, you use a plugin for that, don't you?
Correct. That we have the Scroll suite of plugins, and one of the what the Scroll plugin provide is versioning and the ability to separate the source where when we author from the target where we publish to. So we can author the next release, the documentation for the next release, while the customer sees another knowledge space where the prior releases described.
Right, excellent. And then Pendo, is that integrated with Confluence at all, or is it really just like a separate thing that you can add a link and that link just happens to go to your knowledge spaces?
It's separate. It's a completely separate product. And we jumped on the bandwagon because we wanted to give the users the help that they need in a much easier fashion. We like the idea of progressive assistance because sometimes you can't describe everything, but you can give the gist of it, what they need right away to know how to fill the field, or what to select right there. And then we can, for more, if they want the concept, the background, they can go in the knowledge base and read about it.
So do you implement that with your developers so that it
No,
goes
we
into
don't.
the
That's another advantage. Pendo is not part of the development code. Right now, if we want to have a context-sensitive help, we have to talk to the team, and they have to schedule it into one of their upcoming releases.
Right.
With Pendo, the big advantage is it's separate.
Oh,
once
wow.
Pendo is connected to the application, we can go in and say, okay, I think we need a help. This is unclear. Analytics say that the customer is having a problem here. Let's add a sentence.
Amazing.
And then, so we can do it separate from the build cycle, and that's a big advantage.
And then finally, the AcroLink score, can customers see that?
No. That's a good question. The AcroLinks is only implemented on the source space where we author.
Okay.
That's where we get all that's where we do our
all. Then you send it out to scroll, to version, to publish.
Then we publish. It's nothing to do with AcroLinks. Exactly.
I understand. Wow.
That's another advantage of separating authoring from delivery.
Yes.
Yes. Exactly.
Excellent. Does anyone else have any questions before Malu and I close down our evening of wonderful learning here? Does anyone have any questions for the metadata team, who has really did a great job?
Yeah, this is Mike. A quick question. So you talked about multiple plugins to make it work in Confluence. How many different plugins are we talking, and how much cost is involved in all that? Just ballpark.
Oh boy. The plugins is really, for documentation plugins only, then you need the scroll suite of plugins, which is the scroll versions, which allows you to do versions, scroll translation if you want to do translation, scroll viewport for the ability to theme your delivery completely different from what you see. Confluence is like a content delivery system, and the actual presentation is up to viewport, so you can really do what you want building your pages. And scroll PDF. We wanted to have control of our PDF stuff. So these four. The price depends on how many licenses of Confluence you have. That's the problem. It's tied to, if you have a 10-user license for Confluence, it will be very cheap. The whole thing.
If you have over 10,000 users like we do, yeah.
And we have unlimited. We have unlimited because every customer that comes in requires an account. So that becomes expensive. It's in the tens of thousands. I think it's not horrible compared to other, content management systems are very expensive out there. So all in all, it's not too bad at all. It's not too bad at all.
Thanks. I'm gonna look into it because we have Confluence, and to use it as is, the wiki, that wouldn't help us. But if I didn't know about all these other plugins, so I want to look into it. Thanks.
Reach out if you have any questions.
Well, thank you, Nitza, and the entire metadata team. It was great, wonderful. So again, yes, clap, clap, clap. Just to remind you again, our deadline for applying to be a judge, if you would like to judge this year, is December 8th. And if you want to enter something, the deadline is January 15th. And we really have a unique competition with multiple chapters involved. There are other chapters that hold competitions. Chicago and the Carolina chapter both have competitions. And then the Alliance competition is what STC is offering this year. So we hope that you'll get involved with us in some manner. And Malu, final words? Anything? Unmute yourself. I'll unmute you.
Oh, see you in judging and see your entries. Hopefully, I'd love to work with you guys in judging entries this year. So thanks everybody and happy Thanksgiving. It's almost here.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
thanks
Bye.
a lot.
Bye.
Make the recording available soon.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.